Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, our guest is Natalie. She goes by Nat Bedard, a resilient single mom of 3. She has overcome a life-threatening illness to become a beacon of empowerment. In 2019, she created the company Lift Oneself. Isn't that a beautiful name, people? Through mindfulness and decisive action, she guides others on their journey of self-discovery and healing by tapping into the body's nervous system and energy flow. With a focus of unraveling emotional blockages and reconnecting with intuition, I love that word, Natalie empowers individuals to realize their full potential through small, manageable steps. She fosters connection and understanding by utilizing personal tools such as nature and meditation. So, Nat, is it Nat or Nate?
Nat.
Okay, thank goodness. So, Nat, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
I am so excited to get into this conversation, and thank you for having me as a guest, Karen.
Oh, definitely my pleasure. So let's just jump in there. I know we've had some conversation before the show started, which helped me really get to know you, which was really fun for me. Is there part of your trauma story that you're willing to share with the audience today, just so they know that you're also a survivor?
Yeah, I have a plethora of trauma, from childhood sexual trauma to, having a parent that emotionally wasn't available and that was dealing with addiction to deal with their own trauma. A very loving mother. The father was absent, so that adds a trauma in itself. And then more sexual trauma in my teens, in my 20s. And then because if you understand trauma, then you start to create an identity, and then you attract people or experiences that reignite that trauma and just create even more of a tumblewind. And then in my, which was about 10 years ago, that's when I hit rock bottom with a terminal illness where I had lesions in my brainstem and my cerebellum. And so that in itself, I was hospitalized for almost 40 days, going through a plethora of tests, from biopsies to spinal taps to even radiation being put in my system, to the amount where they said if I went to a border, I would be pulled over because they would wonder if I was a terrorist. So that in itself creates this trauma with the body of, okay, I'm going through all this pain. Nobody can find solutions. And thankfully, it woke me up of understanding more of my own nervous system. And then I discovered meditation in 2015. And because I kind of had death on my neck, it didn't allow me to escape from myself. And so the meditation allowed me to go into my body, back into my body, and do the somatic release of all of the emotional charges from the trauma, all the way from back in my childhood, and allow myself to see these experiences, not shutting off the story, being able to see the whole arc of the story and seeing all the different perceptions there were, not just in my perception, and allowing there to be a grace that would wash over the shame and guilt. And so I could connect back into my worth, into the love within myself. Was it easy? No, because I had twins that were 4 when I was in the hospital, and when I discovered meditation, they were 5. And so in that trauma, they experienced trauma too, because if your parent's going to die, that just dysregulates you on its own. Therefore, when I speak to people and I relate to people, they're like, I feel so safe talking to there doesn't feel like there's a judgment. And it's like, well, I've gone through so much that if I were to judge myself, then I'm not able to hold the space. So I've removed the judgment on myself so that you can remove the judgment on yourself. And healing requires radical honesty. And that is like the thing that will get in the crux of being able to relate and feel these emotions that have been suppressed, which are energy charges in your nervous system.
Oh, you said that really, really well. I loved how you went, I asked if you wanted to share a trauma. I love that you were vulnerable in sharing that, but you also quickly went into your healing journey. So that was beautiful segue. I'm curious though, how is your physical health now? Like, are you healed? Are you better? Are you 80% better? Tell us a little more about that.
I'm probably, how would I define it? I still live with pain, and the pain is a way of energy. So if there's too much stress and cortisol being pumped in my body, my energy just shuts down. So I rearranged my lifestyle to be able to accommodate my energy force. So thankfully, I was able to retire on a disability. So that part of the workforce has changed a lot so I can support my energy. The lesions are no longer there, yet they left scarring in my brainstem and my cerebellum. What they had prognosed for me was death. They said that I'd be in a wheelchair, I wouldn't be able to walk, because when I was in the hospital, I couldn't think, I couldn't walk, my eyes were cross-eyed, I had vertigo, all these symptoms. And a lot of those symptoms released and came back into homeostasis. So my body was communicating. My thyroid is still out of whack. And like I said, like the scarring in the brainstem still impacts my balance at times, impacts my energy level. Yet I am way more, I'm in my healing, and what the medical system thought I would be in is way different than like I am, like I would say 80% for what they categorize. Am I like my old life? Oh, I no, not even to the, and that was a big challenge for me to integrate this new Natalie and grieve the old one. And I think that's one of the biggest healing parts that we battle with is you have to accept the grief and not chastise the body. And that's hard when the body is not allowing you to do what you could do and you're riddled with pain and things are, you have to relate to things differently. Yeah, once you tap into your healing and you understand, I got to support my energy and my life force and what works for me, it's a totally different interaction in life.
Yeah, I also love how you're talking about energy, because I think that's my opinion is it's less understood how energy works. There's a lot of research at this point on how trauma impacts the body on a physical level and our physical health, a little less so on energy, but it's the science of energy is definitely, there's a lot more studies coming out about that.
Yeah.
Tell me what it was like for you when you understood that all the trauma that you went through wreaked havoc in your body to the point that it caused this for you to be so sick. Like, what was that like for you to understand that?
I didn't know it at the time when I felt ill, I started getting tired in the summer of 2013. And so my doctor thought it was my thyroid because I had hypothyroidism since I was diagnosed in 2001 or 2002, I believe. And so I was really tired. And then November came and I thought I was pregnant because that fatigue when you first become pregnant and you're just like everything is struggling to move. Yeah. So I was an investigator at the time and I'd have to interview people. I'd have to go lie down between interviews and then get back up and interview and focus. And then December happened, and then my body was like, you're done. And so that's where the crash came down. From December to March, I kept going to see my doctor, and she kept referring me to the hospital. And I went to the hospital 5 times. And they kept telling me at the emergency, oh, it's just the flu. And just take a vaccine and go home and rest. My oldest son used to have to carry me like a baby into the hospital to get onto a wheelchair because I could not walk and I was riddled in pain. So at the time, I didn't know that this was going on, that it was like trauma and the stress and the relationship between me and the twins' father. So all that toxicity, and also seeing my part. Like I didn't see what I was allowing in my life. I didn't see how I was treating myself. So then when the meditation happened, all this kind of download, because thematically I released that energy, and the tears and the rage and the anger allowed me to remove all that static and see more of a clarity of what that created in my life and why I was at the space that I was. And it took me some time too not to tussle and get angry with myself, because there's this type of wanting to blame and get angry with yourself because you want to change your past.
Right.
And so if I blame myself, then I don't really have to accept my past because look where I am now. And it's like, yet if you do that, then you can accept all the experience you've had and the resilience. So, at the time, did I see it? No, the meditation allowed me to have clarity with that and have a language for it.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're not making the healing journey sound easy or linear, right? It's up and down and all around.
No.
Okay, so I feel like that was really helpful for people to hear. Okay, so let's talk about your company, Lift Oneself. Tell me more about what that is and what you do.
So, I see with the professionals in therapy, they go to a certain level. Yet a lot of them are not trauma informed of understanding the biology and the nervous system. And also understanding how when you have been traumatized, there is a sense of watching people and their facial expression and their body language of when you're trying to be honest about certain experiences. Can they handle my experience? And if they're looking a certain way, then you shut down because it's like, well, if you're looking like that, I don't want to harm you to traumatize you by hearing my experience. And I also don't want to feel that if you're looking like that, really, what was the degree of my experience? And what did that actually feel like? And, to be able to have gentle eyes with, some of the violation and some of the pain and harm that you went through takes, time and grace with yourself. So with my meditation, it just came clear of when you can lift yourself, the ego, which is the nervous system, out of the way, you can come into the oneself, which is the unity that connects all of us. So it's really lifting that trauma out so that you can come back into your worth, into your big self, and understand, oh my gosh, I've been separated. I've been going on the outside to find my worth when it's always been here. That's supposed to be my identity. And the love that I keep seeking, that belonging that I keep seeking, is within myself. But trauma separates you from that. So that's why I created it in that way.
Okay. And do you have clients? Are you a coach?
Yes, I am. So that was one thing with my doctor too, when I said, okay, I want to start doing my own company with helping hold space for people. And she's like, hey, I understand that you got a lot of wisdom and everything else, but I got to keep you safe because what you did previously of overdoing and creating all this cortisol and stress almost killed you. So that's why you are not working. So in this kind of field, it can get really quick and fast that people are wanting to be in your energy force because you hold such great space. yet you got to learn to have boundaries to take care of yourself. And so in that, I started my company in 2019, then COVID hit, and I was holding space and doing free meditations and everything else. And then 2003, my friend ended up having pancreatic cancer. So I've been assisting her with that. And she was only given 3 months to live. And now it's been over a year. And as I said, like, if I wasn't there with her, I don't think she'd be here, because I helped her to face the anxiety, to release in her nervous system, to have an acceptance of where she is right now and not fight with her biology and actually work with it. So now it was like, okay, open up the space and you understand how to take care of yourself, yet you're also limiting the power of healing. Because when I hold space for other people, it energizes me also, because it's a give and it's a fulfillment. And also using the tool of taking care of myself, which, yesterday I was doing my cold plunges, my heat, and I did a massage. So it's like really understanding, like, these aren't things that, oh, let me just kind of do it. It's like, this is part of your repertoire. This is your medication.
Oh my
This
gosh,
is,
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, this is my medication. So when I'm meditating and journaling and walking out in the forest and having to do, it's like, okay, let me remember that I'm important. Trauma plays a game on you too, that you don't feel like you're important, and let me just, really, I got to really understand the people pleasing is the fawn state in the nervous system, because we have 4 Fs: the fight, the flight, the freeze, and the fawn. And the fawn is really that people pleasing of wanting a sense of belonging. So you go out there and please and want to do all the things because there's a great reward from people, yet you're also putting yourself in places that you're not serving your own needs. And so I really engaged with that. So yeah, I do have clients and I'm opening up the space for more clients. I am creating a course right now because a lot of people are like, where's your book? Where's your courses? Because when you speak to me, you speak it in such a way that is easily understood. And I get, like, when people are like nervous system, and I'm like, like, this is something that you're already in. So when people are like, well, I'm not educated or I don't have the academics, I'm like, you're already living with it. And so rather than being on autopilot, let's start using the manual to really understand. And I give a visual of the nervous system as a wild stallion and the power that it has. And you don't want to tame a wild stallion. You want to be able to ride and guide its force. And so, it's understanding, you're going to get dragged at first. That's the healing and releasing and letting go of the defense mechanisms, which have been protecting you all this time. Yet now you have to recognize you're no longer serving me, and I can release these parts of the defense mechanisms and go into creating how you want life to be. I would really enjoy if you would allow me to bring you into a meditation, Karen, so I can show listeners a bit of the portal of what the breath can do for them.
Well, God only knows I could always use it. And so I can appreciate maybe others in the audience feel the same way. So please proceed.
Okay. So I'm going to guide Karen to close her eyes. Yet a lot of listeners are driving or doing some kind of activity that needs their visual senses. So don't close your eyes, because I want to keep you safe and everybody else. Yet the other process you're able to do. So Karen, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and find a comfortable seating. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out. You're not going to control your breath. You're just going to watch its rhythm. And you're going to keep your awareness on watching the breath go in and out through your nose. There may be sensations or feelings that are coming up in your body. It's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go, while still staying with your breath. Surrender the need to control Release the need to resist and just be. Be in your breath. Stay with your breath. And at this point, the mind usually bucks. And if it's getting to be a little too overwhelming in your body, take your right hand and put it at the bottom of your belly, under your belly button. And when you're going to inhale all the way down to that hand, and you're going to push out your belly. So you're pushing out your hand. And you're going to inhale as much as you can, blowing out your belly. And you're going to hold it. And then when you do the exhale, you're going to suck in your belly all the way into your spine. So you release all of that oxygen and CO2 in your body. Now you're going to do that again, pushing out your belly, holding your breath, and then gently releasing and sucking in that belly. And then you're going to come back to just watching your breath go in and out through your nose. And while still staying with your breath, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while staying with your breath.
Can you move in with me and do this with me every day?
Well, for your listeners, I actually created a landing page that will say lift oneself/gift. And there's a free meditation there that they can access. It's a 10-minute meditation, yet it will go into some deep breathings, those belly breaths that I did, and then just go into watching the breath. And it was only about a minute and a half that we did this. Yet for your listeners, if you can just do this on every hour, take a moment just to pause and anchor into your breath. It allows yourself to create a space of being reactive and impulsive, and allow there to see the stimulus, but not take action with it. Give it some space so that there can be a response. Yet, your breath is the only thing that never leaves you.
I know. It's free. I mean, I know you can hire practitioners and people to help you maximize the benefits. But if you're someone with no money or no means, you always have your breath.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fascinating to me that the deeper healing practices of the world, they're free.
Yeah. Yeah.
You say the landing page one more time so I can make sure it's in the speaker notes for people.
liftoneself.com/gift, GIFT.
Okay. So make sure I got that.
Yeah. Like I said, my whole purpose is I don't want people to feel alone. I know how lonely it was in my healing, and I understand where you can get lost in certain aspects. So I want people to feel seen, to feel glimmers of joy back in their life, and have, radical acceptance and kindness towards themselves. And anything that I can do to offer that glimmer of light, that they can come back to remembering that they are the light, not seeking it from somewhere else, that's my gift, people. And so when I offer the coaching, I go more into a deep dive for those that really want to start understanding their defense mechanisms, breaking down those belief systems, and really, people, the big buzzword is being authentic. And it's like, okay, authenticity requires you to feel your real emotions, not the secondary emotions. Because a lot of us with trauma have secondary emotions we feel. We don't even know how to relate with the real emotions. And when those real emotions come up, they're foreign visitors. So you're not going to have language. You're not going to know how to relate to them. And so I hold a space for people to actually use tools to feel those things. And the big one is anger. And anger is very healthy. It's learning to befriend it.
Yeah. Yeah. I every day, all day, I talk about that with the survivors I work with. Like, we need to tap into that. Like, there's a reason why anger exists. And you have some stuff that it's okay to be angry about. Let's work through that.
Exactly.
Yeah. My male clients tend to have an easier time tapping into it because society's always said it's okay for men to be angry. Society has said to women, no, good girls are sweet and kind. And we all want to be good girls, right?
Yes.
Until we're pissed off.
And how are your male clients with tears?
The same, like societal pressure to not cry. A lot of the men that end up coming to therapy, I would say, are a little more evolved though, and are ready to start working on that. It doesn't feel good to them, but it doesn't feel good to anybody, right? Like, even the women I work with, we want to be strong, independent women, and society said, oh, tears are weakness. And so what I try to tell people, actually, tears are releasing the toxins out of your body. Thank God for those tear ducts. Like, we have them for a reason, it's supposed to be cleansing. So reframing it tends to help. I also wanted to go back to earlier conversation. You mentioned trauma informed and that how important that is. And I agree. Like, anyone that you work with in your healthcare system, the nurse, the doctors, the more people that you can work with that are trauma informed, the better. But when you're looking for a therapist or even like the deeper healing practices, like what you offer, you really want trauma competent people, like people that have studied trauma and the impact on the nervous system. And with therapists, you want someone who's really has done their due diligence, because especially treating complex post-traumatic stress, you gotta tell the client, admit that the field of trauma recovery, the research in the field is still relatively new, which is weird for me to say because I've been studying it for 25 years. But the big gurus at the top of the trauma research, which are all white men, by the way, which drives me nuts. They say that this field is still very new. And of course there are older women, but they tend to be Caucasian as well, who are gurus in our field. So I want more diversity in the field and in the research, because I think that lens really matters too. Like, the oppression of different cultures really matters with this. Okay, I gotta get off my soapbox. Okay, going back to what the stuff that you offer. I'm glad people are encouraging you to create courses and maybe to write a book. And I know from being an entrepreneur myself, like, there's so many things that we could do to help people. I just want to say, as you create things in the world, let us know so we can add them to the podcast, like an evolving thing. Like, people 10 years from now could listen to your episode and we could have it. Natalie's book came out in 2027 about X, right?
Yeah. Yes,
that will be fun for people to read, because I can tell that you have a lot of wisdom.
Yeah. Thank you for this. Like, as we say, the healing, that the inner saboteur, the inner critic in me always is like, well, you don't have the accreditation or you don't have this. Yet when I talk to the professionals and I talk to people, they're like, you intimately get like this nervous system thing. Like,
You know it. Yeah, I can tell.
You understand it. So I have to
Yes, you have the gift of it.
Go through my own force fields that are trying to hold me back, yet, go through it, of recognizing there's so many people that need a validation, that it's not all in their head, which some of it is, yet the all in your head is understanding what is it that you're creating? Where is your radical honesty with yourself? How can you see yourself? Like, people that come to work with me, they're the ones that are willing to face themselves. And that's very challenging. And it's willing to face the pain, not just the physical pain, the psychological, the emotional pain of having to break this narration that you've been feeling safe in. That you can use, like where I say intuition, it's coming back to remembering we're a feeling body that thinks. So trusting what your gut has been telling you, and also unleashing curiosity. If you don't have curiosity, you're not able to go into the uncertainty and unknown. Fear is always going to be activated. And, where people might feel like the nervous system's so complex because there's a part that wants to protect you. Don't feel this. But then there's another part that's like, you need to release this. Come see it. But so there's like a clash that goes on, and then it becomes so destabilizing. Like, which part do I listen to? Which part do I trust? And then it's recognizing you are the observer and you're to bring harmony, a wholeness with a W with these two parts.
A wholeness with a W. Okay, we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Any final words of wisdom through the lens of there's someone listening today that really needed to hear you? What are a couple of words of wisdom that might inspire hope in them today? What you got?
I see you, and I want you to remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. The journey is one that is pretty harsh at times, yet there's a lot of joy that you can come back into. And always remember that you matter.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for listening today.